Mr. President. Do you personally approve of the deal that's happening right now on Capitol Hill to end the government
Well, it
shutdown?
depends what deal we're talking about, but if it's a deal I heard about, that's certainly, they want to.
The suddenness of the announcement caught nearly everyone by surprise. After months of ambiguity, shifting statements, and speculation from every corner of the political spectrum, Donald Trump signed a bill mandating the phased release of certain government-held records related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. Within minutes of the signing, the political world erupted into a frenzy of interpretations, predictions, and theories, attempting to decipher the meaning behind such a stark reversal. And as with any event involving Trump and the long-shadowed Epstein saga, the move raised more questions than it answered. Observers began asking the same haunting, unavoidable questions. Why now? What changed? What does Trump hope to accomplish by embracing transparency he once appeared hesitant to support? And perhaps the most uncomfortable question of all, what might be revealed in those documents? And what might still remain hidden behind the government's familiar veil of redactions? To understand the significance of Trump's decision, one must look at its timing. The political climate has rarely been more polarized, and public trust in institutions remains deeply shaken. The Epstein case, with its mixture of criminality, secrecy, and the involvement of wealthy and influential figures, has become a symbol of a broader public grievance, the fear that power can shield the worst deeds from consequences. By putting his signature on a bill promising new layers of transparency, Trump stepped into a firestorm of expectations and risks from all sides. The bill itself requires several federal agencies to review and prepare designated Epstein-related documents for public release. However, it does so with the standard and significant caveats associated with laws of this nature. That sensitive personal information, especially of victims, minors, and uninvolved individuals, must be protected. That ongoing investigations cannot be compromised, and that national security considerations remain intact. In short, the legislation promises both transparency and restraint, a combination that inevitably ensures that whatever becomes public will be met with scrutiny, interpretation, and argument. Still, the very act of signing the bill is political theater of a high order. Supporters frame it as Trump endorsing honesty, openness, and an end to the long-running suspicion surrounding Epstein's connections. Critics counter that it is an attempt to control the pace and shape of disclosures, rather than to unleash the full truth. Both sides acknowledge the move's political weight, even if they disagree on the motives. The reversal itself is the centerpiece of the unfolding drama. Trump has, over the years, made varying statements about Epstein, sometimes distancing himself from him, sometimes acknowledging their interactions in the way that many prominent New Yorkers of the era crossed paths socially. His public stance on transparency regarding the Epstein case has shifted as well, depending on the political pressures and circumstances of the moment. This sudden endorsement of document release raises the question of whether the motivation lies in a desire to preempt criticism, deflate accusations before they gain momentum, or redirect the public conversation during a volatile political period. Some analysts argue that Trump's move is an attempt to position himself on the side of the people at a time when distrust of elites is a powerful political force. By supporting the release of records, especially ones that the public has been clamoring to see, he can present himself as someone willing to challenge secrecy, even if the actual release process remains slow and legally tangled. This framing has immediate appeal to those who believe that a political class has long operated without accountability, hidden behind institutional shields and procedural barriers. But others see something more strategic at work. The bill structures the release in a controlled, methodical manner, allowing agencies to process documents, apply appropriate redactions, and schedule disclosures. Critics contend that such a process, while legally necessary, also gives political actors time to prepare narratives, responses, and explanations before the information becomes public. It creates distance between the initial decision and the actual content, allowing political leaders to shape expectations well in advance. Trump's decision injects new momentum into these debates. The promise of document releases raises expectations that long-held mysteries may finally be clarified. But the reality of how federal disclosures work suggests that the process will be slow, incomplete, and subject to interpretation. That tension between what the public hopes for and what the institutions are willing or able to reveal will shape the narrative of this bill for months or even years. As news of the signing spread, immediate reactions reflected the same divides that characterize nearly every major political event today. Supporters praised the move as a bold rejection of secrecy and an affirmation of the public's right to know. Many framed it as Trump pushing back against a system that has historically protected the powerful. Victim advocates expressed cautious optimism, noting that the possibility of new information coming to light could aid long-standing efforts toward justice, though they also emphasized that protecting victims' identities must remain paramount. Opponents, however, argued that the timing and tone feel too convenient. They questioned whether the decision was driven by principle or by political calculation. Some suggested that the move could serve as a distraction from other national issues, shifting the public conversation towards sensational disclosures rather than policy debates. Others worried that releasing partial or fragmented information could create more confusion, leading the public to fill in the gaps with speculation rather than fact. While these debates rage, one of the biggest unknowns remains: what the documents will actually reveal. Government records connected to a sprawling, multi-year criminal investigation typically contain a mix of mundane logistics, procedural details, bureaucratic correspondences, and occasional substantive revelations. The public imagines bombshell lists and explicit evidence, but the reality may be far less cinematic. Even so, small details can be amplified into political earthquakes when the subject involves a figure as notorious as Epstein. This creates a precarious landscape. Advocates for transparency argue that even partial releases are valuable, shedding light on historical events and government operations. But political strategists understand that in the modern era, information, especially incomplete information, can be weaponized in countless ways. The upcoming releases may become fodder for political campaigns, social movements, online speculation, and ideological battles that extend far beyond the scope of the documents themselves. In the days following the bill's passage, commentators began to ask what Trump might have to gain or fear from such transparency. It is important to note that the signing of the bill does not imply wrongdoing by any particular individual. Government records often contain names, references, or associations that reflect social proximity rather than criminality. Yet political adversaries often take these associations and spin them into narratives that fuel controversy, suspicion, or outright misinformation. Trump, like many other public figures, knows that proximity to Epstein, regardless of context, is enough to generate headlines. This awareness feeds the central mystery of the moment. Did Trump sign the bill out of confidence that the documents contain nothing damaging to him? Did he do so because he expects the revelations to implicate political rivals more than allies? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.